My name is Paul Foster, and I want to start by telling you something that nobody in this industry has ever told you before. Your NEBOSH qualification did not prepare you to lead people. Neither did your IOSH, neither did your NCRQ, neither did the 30 years of experience you have accumulated on sites and in offices and in boardrooms across this industry. Not because those qualifications are wrong, because they are incomplete. They taught you everything about the technical dimensions of safety. They taught you nothing about the human ones. That gap between everything your qualifications cover and everything they leave out has a name. I call it the human safety gap, and it is the reason this program exists. I started my career in 1968, not in a classroom, on the tools as an apprentice maintenance technician. My hands were on the equipment. My boots were on the site. I learned this industry from the ground up, every bolt, every system, every process, in the way that nobody who comes through a formal qualification route ever fully learns it. Over the decades that followed, I worked my way through every level of this industry, from technician to supervisor, from supervisor to manager, from manager to director. I worked in oil and gas. I worked in construction. I worked in rail. I worked on major infrastructure projects, billion-pound programs across the UK and internationally. I sat in boardrooms and I walked sites at 6 in the morning and at midnight. I earned my qualifications, along the way NEBOSH and IOSH membership, my technical safety credentials, and eventually the QTLS teaching qualification that came when I understood that what I had learned needed to be passed on properly, not just shared informally. I also founded Diligent Safety Training and Consultancy Limited, because I believed and still believe that this industry deserves better tools than it has been given. By any measure, I was, on paper, an experienced and qualified safety professional. And then a foreman in Saudi Arabia gave me 4 words that changed my professional life. I was working on a major petrochemical project. I had been in the industry for well over 30 years by that point. I knew the sites, I knew the systems, I knew the regulations. I was doing everything the role required. On a Tuesday morning, a foreman stopped me outside the compound. A man I respected, a man who had been doing this work his entire life. He looked at me and said, without malice and without agenda, 4 words. Paul, we do not know why you care. Not aggressive, not confrontational, just honest. The most honest thing anyone had said to me in 3 decades of professional life. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because that foreman was not telling me I did not care. He was telling me something far more important. He was telling me that the workers whose safety was my professional responsibility, the people I went to work every day to protect, could not see it. All the qualifications, all the experience, all the site visits and toolbox talks and risk assessments and incident investigations, none of it had communicated one thing clearly enough, that I genuinely cared whether they went home. That is the human safety gap. Not a gap in your technical knowledge, a gap in the human methodology this industry has never taught you to close. I spent the rest of my career finding the answer to those 4 words. This program is that answer. The Never Lose Anyone trademark Safety Leadership Masterclass is everything I know about how to close the human safety gap in your own practice, built from 50 years in this industry, tested in real operational environments across multiple sectors, and structured for the specific reality of an operations manager, a site manager, or a team leader in a high hazard environment who needs to lead people, not just manage compliance. Before I tell you what you are going to build through this program, I want to make you a promise. I call it the Z30 promise. In 30 days, I help operation managers, site managers, and team leaders go from feeling exposed, overwhelmed, and legally vulnerable to becoming the trusted safety leader their team actually follows, so that workers make the right decisions without being told. Directors listen when it matters, and they sleep soundly at night, knowing their team has got this. That is the promise this program is built to deliver. Not because the full work is done in 30 days. The architecture takes 90. The multiplication of your approach through the leaders around you takes longer still. But the shift, the fundamental shift, from feeling exposed to feeling equipped, from managing safety to genuinely leading it, begins within 30 days of your first one conversation walkabout. I know that because I have watched it happen. Not once, consistently, in leaders who started exactly where you are now. So book a strategy call with me. No obligation, just a strategic discussion